Good afternoon, Professor Govindjee.
Good afternoon, Acting Chief Justice.
Did I pronounce your surname correctly?
100% correct. Thank you.
No, thank you. Welcome to this interview session of the Commission, and thank you for availing yourself.
Thank you. It's
for consideration for appointment as a judge.
Thank you.
Of the Eastern Cape Division.
No, it's a tremendous privilege. Thank you, Acting Chief Justice.
Thank you. I see that you hold the degrees of BA, which you got from the university, from Rhodes University in 1998. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
And LLB, which you got from the same university in 2000.
Indeed.
And then you got your LLM from the University of Port Elizabeth, 2002. Now
Yes.
Nelson Mandela University.
Yes, that is so.
And your LLD, or you got your LLM cum laude, actually.
Yes.
And you did it in labor law.
Yes, I did.
Yes, and then you got your LLD from the same university, that is Nelson Mandela University, in 2005.
Indeed.
But I see that you also served articles and you were admitted as an attorney.
Yes.
Yes, was your admission in 2002?
Yes, that is so.
Yes, and you worked as an attorney until 2005, but you also started lecturing at the University of Port Elizabeth.
Yes, I received a full-time position in January 2003.
Oh, okay. Or I thought maybe you were part-time in lecturing between 2003 and 2005.
No, I was part-time in 2002, Acting Chief Justice, and then became permanent in January 2003.
Yeah, I think in your questionnaire, it gives the impression that between 2002 and 2005, you were a professional assistant at Sony Incorporated.
Yes.
And in 2003 to 2004, you were a lecturer.
I can explain that, Acting
Yes.
Chief Justice. The university allows academics to do a day per week
Yeah.
of private work with permission.
Yes.
So I remained practicing as a professional associate for that 1 day per week, but I was permanently employed by the then University of Port Elizabeth from 2003.
Okay. And then did you stop practicing at some stage and became full-time in lecturing?
No, Acting Chief Justice. What happened is that I continued to use the benefit of the 1 day per week, continued to be affiliated to the firm in Gqeberha, formerly Port Elizabeth.
Yeah.
And then at some point used that time to serve the Commission for Conciliation, Mediation and Arbitration. So I continued to remain in practice in that capacity, subsequently as a senior commissioner, and remained so until 2016, I believe, when I then began working for Cliff Decker Hofmeyer on a similar basis, but only on a 1 day per month basis, because by then I was appointed as the Dean of the faculty, and then the 1 day per week shrinks to 1 day per month.
But that kind of practicing must be difficult, isn't it? 1 day a week.
What it involves, Acting Chief Justice, is that the award writing and the like would have happened over weekends.
Yes.
So what worked very well with the CCMA work was that I could give a day where I knew there were no lectures, then go and conciliate matters or arbitrate matters, knowing that I would then use my weekend time or evenings in order to write any awards that I carried from that particular day.
Yeah, no, I can understand how it would work if what you were doing is using the 1 day a week to, for example, have an arbitration hearing, and then you write the award either in the evenings or weekends. But I'm not sure how it would work if your 1 day a week meant do clients' cases in a law firm.
No, the work, once I became permanently employed by the university, Acting Chief Justice, the work for the law firms became very much of a consulting nature in the form of opinions
Yes.
and the like. I, for a few years, continued to wind down the practice that I had established
Yeah.
at the firm on that same basis, but it wasn't, in a sense, anything more than being effectively a consultant for the bulk of that period.
Yes, yes. So, all in all, in terms of your practice experience, what kind of period would you say you have had exposure to the real practice of law as an attorney over the years?
Yes, it's a difficult question to answer. The best way I can describe it is that I had intensive practice during my articles. Immediately subsequent to the articles, developed my small practice. It was a small firm, and thereafter transitioned that to a consultancy role where I could then be approached by the firm for opinions. My time at Cliff Decker Hofmeyer, that has then been almost exclusively in the area of employment law. And again, that's in the form primarily of opinions, seminars, training for the partners and the directors who work in that field and the associates. So it's very much a part-time form of practice. My core responsibilities since 2003 have very much been rooted in academia.
And then you started, you have been given an opportunity to act in the High Court this year.
Yes, that is so. From January, I've completed the bulk of 3 terms acting Chief Justice.
And how did you find it?
It's been a phenomenal experience, an absolute career highlight. I've always said to my students that all students should aspire to serve the bench. We may not all get there, but that is the absolute pinnacle of the legal profession. And it's been an absolute career highlight. It's been hard work, but I think I've enjoyed the variety of the work in the High Court. It's been a steep learning curve, and I've worked hard in order to try to cope as best I can. I feel that I've done so, and I feel that it's been a very, very positive experience for me, and one that I would encourage others in my position to explore if that opportunity ever came along.
Yes. And during your acting stint from beginning of the year up to now, have you done both criminal and civil trials?
Yes, Acting Chief Justice. I've completed 3 criminal trials, 2 gang-related murder cases, as well as a rape case. I've handled, I believe, about half a dozen civil trials to completion, and I've had quite a few opposed motions where I've had to deliver judgments in a reasonably short period of time.
And you have done motion court as well?
Yes, I've had a few opportunities of motion court, 4 or 5 weeks, I believe.
Yes. And how did you find motion court?
Yes, it's been an interesting experience being the duty judge. I found that preparation, I'm very anxious on the Thursday or Friday to get the files for the following week so that that weekend of sacrifice can commence. But that, I believe the preparation has helped me, and it's also been fortunate that there have been some seasoned hands that I've been able to turn to when I felt that I needed some guidance. So again, a steep learning curve, but one that an experience that I've been grateful to have had the opportunity to undertake.
Judge President.
Thank you. Thank you, ACJ. Professor Govindjee, good afternoon.
Afternoon, JP.
At pages 15 to 17 of the document, it's an indexed document, headed List of Judgments by Eastern Cape Candidates. Your setup will be found from pages 15 to 17.
I'm battling to access that, JP.
They will supply you with the relevant document.
Thank you. Yes, right in front of me. Thank you, JP. Yes.
Will you go to page 15?
Yes, I'm there.
So you acted from the 18th to the 26th of March, a full-blown term.
Yes, that is so.
And then once again, 12 April to 31 May,
Yes, indeed.
and then 17 July to 17 September, once again, a full-blown
Yes.
term.
Yes.
Then at page 17, you will find the summation. You've written 13 opposed application judgments.
Yes.
Then you've had 6 civil trials where you wrote judgment.
That is so.
You ran 3 criminal trials and you penned 3 judgments.
Yes.
Criminal appeals 3, civil appeals 3, criminal review 2.
Yes, JP.
Which of those did you find challenging, if at all?
Yes, I found sentencing to be the most challenging, I think, from an emotional perspective. I found the burden of having to cast judgment on sentencing to be something that gave me a sleepless night on each occasion.
Yes. And I seem to recall that at some point you penned a judgment on tax law.
Yes, that is so.
Is it numbered somewhere here?
Yes, it would be. If you give
If I remember well, you handed down judgment almost on the same day.
Yes, I did. It's the matter of, I believe it's the matter of ICR utility management versus Headbush, which is
Yes.
on page 15.
Page 15.
I'm pretty sure it's that matter.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. And then, if you were to be appointed, what skills would you bring to the bench?
Judge President, I would like to think that the experience that I've had in academia, and some of the professional bodies have alluded to that, I would like to believe that that has given me a set of skills that is not unlike what sitting judges possess, but perhaps comes from a slightly different angle. The art of publication and writing for publication, the research that underpins that, I found those aspects to be particularly useful in transitioning this year from full-time academia into an acting role. So I believe that, and I think I might be speaking for academia in general, to say that there's a thoroughness that comes with the research for publication process that would be beneficial and would hopefully serve the bench well.
Yes. At page 17, there's reference to a case you set together with me and another colleague, Minister of Police versus Page.
Yes.
Yes. I just want to place it on record that I was impressed with the manner in which you interacted with counsel who were arguing that matter.
Thank you, JP.
You were nominated by Senior Counsel Kroon of the Port Elizabeth Bar, who has also acted as a judge on some occasions.
Yes.
And then also by the Nelson Mandela University Vice Chancellor.
Yes, the university has been very supportive, JP.
And then also by the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic, University of Johannesburg.
Yes, that is so.
And then I'd like you to tell me more about this nomination. It seems the name is Pumezo, but
Yes. Yes, it's a former student who's a director at a
black or white?
firm, black. Sorry, was that your question?
The person who
Yes.
penned the letter is black.
Yes, Pumezo David. It's a black African.
One of your products.
Yes, indeed. A former student who has been director at Knowles Hussein Lindsay, but has now moved to another firm.
What are your views about case flow management?
JP, I've had the opportunity to undertake some case flow management activities myself when I was sitting in the Bishu High Court, and I feel it is a useful tool to help the courts to streamline the matters that deserve to come before it to be heard. So applied properly, it can really streamline the process and ensure that the right cases come forward at the right time. I, of course, would need to experience it a little bit more to see what some of the pitfalls may be and the manner and some of the techniques in which to circumvent those pitfalls. But in principle, I'm in favor of it.
Yes. And lastly, a concern has been expressed that you are new in the profession. When I say profession, particularly the bench, in the sense of not having been a practitioner yourself. Now, in light of the judgments that you've penned and the scholarly and qualitative nature of those judgments, how would you respond to that concern?
I can understand that on paper, if commissioners look at 3 terms and perhaps just at a glance, there might be that concern. The experience has been an immersive experience for me. It has been 3 complete terms. In fact, my own preparation for my first acting stint commenced in November last year as I started preparing for what was to come. And that is a discussion on its own in terms of how acting judges can be best prepared. I've been fortunate that during the course of the year, and I don't think it would work that way for all acting judges, where my cases have run, I've managed to run them to completion, I've managed to work hard to get the judgments out, not only quickly, but with the level of thoroughness that I believe the public and the parties and fellow judges would expect. So I would want to be judged by not just the number of weeks, whether it's 27 weeks or whatever the number of weeks is, or the 30 judgments, but I think the acid test really is the quality of those judgments.
What you produce.
Yes, my experience has been that this is a unique vocation where it's a combination of depth and pace, and it takes I think a lot of wisdom and a lot of asking the right people at the right time to know when is it appropriate to hand down a judgment in an opposed motion roll on the day, and when in fact is it appropriate just to pause because the costs order that you're about to deliver might be unfair to one of the parties. So I would want my term as an acting judge to be judged on what I've produced, the quality and depth of the judgments in addition to the quantity.
I must say senior judges speak highly of you, Professor Govindjee.
I'm humbled to hear that. Thank you, Judge President.
Finally, from a legal education perspective, what would you bring to the bench?
This is really something that is an absolute passion of mine. I've had the privilege of serving the South African Judicial Education Institute for the past year as the South African Law Dean's elected representative on that body. I've also had the privilege of serving the Legal Practice Council and its Education Committee. But I am absolutely passionate about legal education for obvious reasons. My career has been steeped in that. And I really would want to, irrespective of what the outcome might be of this or any future processes, I would want to offer to assist the judiciary and SARJ to really do what it can to prepare aspirant judges, acting judges, as well as can be using technology. For example, you may know that I've created a shared Dropbox feature where I mentioned in November I'd started my preparation, and it took me quite a while to figure out what was going to be most useful. For example, the book published by LexisNexis by Southwood J has been an absolutely indispensable tool. I've relied on that for some run-of-the-mill matters, and I've lent on that, and it would appear in my my judgments. But to piece together all of that, not that one would use a pro forma, but just to know how to set out a leave to appeal. All of those things, that's documentation, that sharing of that with other aspirant candidates can only be to the enhancement of the judiciary as a whole. And of course, I want to add to that finally that I think the bridge between academia and the bench is such a crucial one, and I have some ideas in that respect, because after all, even if academics aren't going to ascend to the bench, they are going to be producing the next generation of judges. They are sitting in those classrooms, or virtually, as the case may be right now. So there's a lot to be done on legal education, in my view, both on the part of the bench, but also in terms of how we integrate practice with academia in order to produce better future practitioners, which will then lead to better judgments on the part of the future judges.
Thank you, Judge President. MEC Gade, if you have got questions, I give you the chance to put questions to the candidate.
Thanks, Chief Justice. Just one question for me. Prof. Govindjee, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, MEC.
If you given an opportunity, what could be your attitude or your contribution in ensuring that as general as government and as well as judicial, we live with the expectations of the call for ethical and developmental state, looking to the current environment that the country is confronted with? Because my sense is that judicial system is at the center of the turnaround strategy of what then the country is confronted with.
Yes.
So my interest is how best can we ensure that we live with that expectation, general as a nation, but of course at the center of that will be the judicial system.
Yes, I think it's not uncontroversial to suggest that the judiciary should sit at the center of that system. I'd place the Constitution at the center of that, and I'd consider that an approach in which, yes, the judiciary has a role to play, but likewise the executive, the legislature, state-owned enterprises, the civil society as well, but also the Chapter 9 institutions. I believe that strengthening each and every one of those dimensions is ultimately going to lead to the ethical conduct that you refer to, and to the fabric of our society then being what we wish it to be, and achieving the aspirational goals that the constitutional sets for us. So I would see the judiciary as an important role player, of course, interpreting the law, developing the law in line with the Constitution, but I would also see the strengthening of the other role players in fulfilling their constitutional mandate to be a key element in ensuring that society as a whole benefits from ethical leadership and conduct.
Thank you, MEC. President Meyer.
Thank you, Mr. J. Good afternoon, Prof.
Good afternoon, President.
You speak with such enthusiasm about judicial office, but I worry and seriously wonder if a man of your many legal talents won't be bored. You know, if you are appointed by what you find in the when you have to spend the rest of your life in the institution. Anyway, I was just scouring through your extensive CV, looking for a recent publication, the Yearbook of South African Law, into which you wrote Justice Madlanga and I, but I can't find it. Can you tell us a bit about that?
It's probably an omission. I'm not an author to that publication or an editor. I serve alongside you and other colleagues as part of the advisory board. Yes.
All right. Well, you should have included in this CV.
Yes,
I did notice.
It's a grave omission.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, ACJ.
Commissioner Dodovu.
Thank you very much, ACJ. Good afternoon, Prof.
Good afternoon, Commissioner.
Yes. My question will center around municipal interventions. Many municipalities in the Eastern Cape have got a lot of problems,
Yes.
which require some intervention by the provincial government, and it invokes Section 139 of the Constitution. Have you presided or handled or participated in any of such matters?
No, I haven't to date, Commissioner.
You haven't?
No, I haven't.
So if that is the case, then I'm not following up this, even if it was quite important. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Moimang.
Thank you, Acting Chief Justice. Good afternoon.
Afternoon, Commissioner.
I just want to canvass the point that you raised earlier on around putting the Constitution at the center. The sense that I got is that you are downplaying the role of the judiciary in promoting a good governance. What happens where the executive or the legislature act in a manner that undermines the values of the Constitution?
No, indeed, Commissioner, let me be unequivocal. It's then the duty of the judiciary to ensure that conduct that is inconsistent with the Constitution is declared unlawful. What remedy is then to follow? That is another matter. I was seized with such a matter in a case involving an NGO coalition where the lack of consultation on the part of a state actor led to the court having to make a finding that conduct was unconstitutional and invalid. The remedy, of course, that was a separate discussion. But the judiciary has a key role. Section 2 of the Constitution makes it clear: any law or conduct inconsistent with the Constitution is invalid. When those matters come before the court, courts are obliged to fulfill their role in declaring such conduct to be invalid. And in addition to that, I'm not sure if that's what you were referring to, but of course the judicial ethics, which is part of, that's a part of it, but it goes way beyond that. That, of course, also needs to be upheld as judges fulfill their constitutional function. So the Constitution at the center, with the role players playing their role, and the judiciary having a key role in holding the other arms of government to account.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Acting Chief Justice.
Thank you. I have Commissioner Matonsela, Commissioner Matolo Zempu, and Commissioner Klava. President Maya has twisted my arm because she didn't ask her question. She talked about other things to the candidate. But I don't propose to take more questions inside. After that, it would just be the commissioners on the virtual platform. Commissioner Matonsela.
Thank you, Acting Chief Justice. Good afternoon, Professor Govindjee.
Good afternoon, Commissioner.
A survey of your CV gives me the sense that you are an academic in labor law, or you have some expertise, academic expertise or qualifications in labor law. And the question is, do you not see yourself more as a labor lawyer as opposed to a judge in the parochial courts?
Yes. No, thank you very much for that question. I've, of course, my background as a CCMA commissioner and a senior CCMA commissioner, and my role with CDH in Johannesburg has been employment law focused. But what happened to me, by a quirk of fate, my mentor at the university had captured the labor law market when it came to teaching, and I branched off at that point into the area of social security law, and through that developed a keen interest in equality law. And I've been fortunate to also work and promote a number of doctoral and master's candidates, and I've invested myself in their interest areas as well. So academically speaking, I would actually consider myself to be primarily a social security a lawyer, my National Research Foundation rating would have been based primarily on my scholarship in the area of socioeconomic rights, but social security specifically. And I've been fortunate to have publications. For example, recently the Constitutional Court cited a co-authored piece in the area of hate speech in the Kwelani matter. So I've been fortunate to be able to write and engage in scholarship that goes way beyond labor law, and actually is rooted in social justice and in searching for legal strategies to address the situation experienced by vulnerable communities. I've also worked in areas of disability law, for example, a co-authored piece in the South African Journal of Bioethics and Law with medical practitioners, looking at the notions of disability from an integrated perspective, not just legal. So I would consider, I might have said 18 months ago, if you'd said to me, we'd like to give you a chance to act, and labor law would appear to have been a soft landing. Having tasted the variety of work that has been thrown at me in the High Court, I would like to think that that I'm able to cope with the demands of the High Court, and that would now very much be my aspiration.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Motolo-Tlepu.
Thank you, Acting Chief Justice. Good afternoon, Prof.
Good afternoon.
I just want to declare that he's a member of the LPC, so that's why.
Yeah.
I just want to find out from you. You have been in the LPC, Education Committee. You were in academia. Now you want to jump to the judiciary. The complaints that we always have is that we need to change our syllabus of training advocates and attorneys. Do you think what we have done, because I know that there's a concern that the syllabus of advocates is just too packed for 6 months. Do you think is it okay, or we should, I acknowledge the concerns, but
Yes.
because you're part of that committee.
Yes.
Because the chairperson of the portfolio committee is here, just explain.
Yes. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. I almost said chairperson, but that would have been a faux pas. No, I think it resonates a little bit with the 4-year, 5-year debate that all the law schools have had to deal with as well. And I think you will get polarized opinions on that. From the one perspective, of course, the more the merrier. The more time one has in order to deal with education, the more notionally one can put into that. But I think one has to look at the, as you call it, the syllabus in connection with what's going to happen post-admission. So the amount of material that post the LLB needs to be digested for legal practitioners to attempt the examination set by the Legal Practice Council, whether they're going to be a trust account advocate or attorney, that's one part of it. But I think a number of practitioners fall into the trap of seeing that that LPC now examination as being the final hurdle after which education needs to cease. And I think it's very, very clear that with the wide breadth of areas of law, that I think one needs a system and an articulated system of continuing professional education that will ensure that there's continuous growth, so that practitioners who don't have the benefits of dealing with taxation matters or the like maintain those skills if they choose to do so, so that ultimately they can serve the profession in an even higher way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Klaba.
Thank you very much, Acting CJ, and good afternoon, Prof.
Good afternoon, Commissioner.
Thank you very much. Prof, I've been in the public sector
Yes.
since 1994.
Yes.
And there's a perennial problem. I'm sure with your experience as a labor expert, you would help guide me on this one. Where people, public servants resign before they are charged
Yes.
or immediately after they are charged, only to emerge
Yes.
in another department or an organ of state.
Yes.
Have you experienced that as a problem? And if yes, where would you point that as a weakness
Yes.
in our labor legislation?
Yes, indeed, Commissioner, that is an issue, and there have been 2 or 3 different cases and that have come out dealing with that matter. So there've been decisions initially going in different directions. It is a problem. The present solution, as far as there can be a solution, would be to utilize the notice period and to conduct a disciplinary process during that period, even if the person indicates that they've resigned and doesn't intend to participate. And of course, the purpose for that would be to try to get some form of a record to avoid the type of hopping that you refer to.
Is it illegal? Is it legal to hold a person to a notice period?
Well, as I suggested, Commissioner, I believe there are different case authorities, but the most recent authority appears to suggest that would be permissible. Yes.
Thank you so much. We'll do that.
President Mai, you're covered. Okay, all right. Commissioners on the virtual platform, is there anyone who has a question? No one has a question. Judge President Mlambo.
Thank you very much, Acting Chief Justice. Good afternoon, Mr. Govindjee.
Good afternoon, JP.
You seem to have a lot of energy, and I'm just piggybacking on the question that President Maya asked you. The JP will forgive me if I'm wrong, but if you were to get the nod, would it be one of your projects to establish legal help desks at the courts to assist indigent, unrepresented litigants who are always summoned, especially by big banks, to come and defend themselves?
Yes.
If they exist, you can stop there. If they don't, I just want to check.
Yes.
You seem to be full of energy and ideas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for raising that, JP. They do exist at both the CCMA level, where my own institution, the Faculty of Law, and through the colleague that I mentioned earlier, has been instrumental in providing that type of service through the university's Labour Law Clinic. That assists at the CCMA level. And then, of course, there's a SAS Law project which has assisted in providing that type of help desk in the Labour Court environment. It would be very interesting and I think appropriate to consider extending that to the type of assistance that could be provided at the High Court and the other courts as well. Yes.
Thank you for that. The last question is, have you told the BLA that you're a man?
Yes. No, I assume that they would take judicial notice of that fact once I entered the room, JP.
Thank you very much. We have come to the end of the interview. Thank you for availing yourself, Professor Govindjee. Thank you very much. You are now excused.
Thank you, Acting Chief Justice, and thank you to all the commissioners. It's been a privilege to appear here today.
Thank you.